Hello, I'm Alev and this is a recap for episode 43 of the series One Love, 24 hours after Turkey and before dubbed for TV. Pembe has arranged a special dinner because Abdullah has been absent for a while. However, Abdullah is late for the first time, and his phone is turned off, making Pembe worried. Alev's phone is also off, and after a few hours, when her family realizes that no one, not even Rüzgar, has heard from her, they become concerned. Nilay takes Mustafa aside and assures him that Abdullah is with Alev. Mustafa is incredulous and asks Nilay not to mention this to others, especially his mother. Nilay asks Mustafa to at least tell Fateh about it. When they discuss the relationship between Alev and Abdullah in the room, Fateh is shocked and says such a thing is impossible. Doa, who has overheard their conversation, enters angrily, saying, "Are you not ashamed to talk about my art like this?" She and Nilay argue, and Doa leaves in frustration. Yusef comes to the Onal's house and says that Abdullah is fine, asking him to inform his family. However, Pembe does not believe Yusef's words. Fateh follows Yusef and asks him to tell the truth, but Yusef says he only knows that Abdullah is okay. On the other side, when he learns that there is no news from Abdullah, Omid is lost in thought. He goes to Kızılcık and suggests that Alev might be with Abdullah. Omid, unable to refer to the relationship between Alev and Abdullah, cannot convince Kızılcık that this is not an accident. Both families stay awake all night in anxiety, making calls to anyone who comes to their minds. Still, there has yet to be any news of Abdullah and Alev. In the morning, Abdullah returns, and Pembe scolds him. Abdullah hesitates momentarily and then says, "I want us to separate. I can't do it anymore." Everyone looks at Abdullah in surprise. Nilay immediately says, "Because of Alev, isn't it?" Doa protests, but Abdullah says, "Because of Alev. I love Mrs. Alev." The room falls silent. Abdullah asks the servant to prepare his bag. Pembe tells Abdullah, "How could you do this to me? Show some shame for your age." Abdullah leaves the house in silence, and Pembe is devastated. Doa, in distress, calls her mother and explains the situation, revealing Alev's affair with her stepfather. Kızılcık is shocked. Upon seeing her, Alev goes to meet Rüzgar, who says, "Do you want to separate?" Alev confirms, and Rüzgar asks, "Are you crazy? We have an engagement tomorrow. Have you lost your mind?" Alev apologizes and confesses that she has fallen in love with Abdullah and couldn't forget him. Rüzgar, visibly distressed, says, "Because he's married, and it's impossible you find him attractive. You can't tolerate happiness, you always seek trouble." Alev explains that Abdullah plans to separate from his wife and asks Rüzgar to understand because she has fallen in love. Rüzgar tells her, "You were in love with me too. But you can't have a relationship with someone with issues. For the thrill of the moment, you've ruined everything." Kızılcık struggles to explain everything to her mother, and Sonmez cries bitterly. Doa is at her mother's house when Alev arrives. Sonmez immediately goes towards her, cursing her. Alev, with resentment, says, "I did everything to avoid this. He came after me. I wouldn't have accepted if he didn't say he wanted a divorce." Doa cries, "Do you understand what you've put me through? The man you're having a relationship with is my stepfather. I supported you so much. Now, with what face can I stay in that house?" Alev says, "I'm sorry for hurting you, but I also have the right to be with someone I love. I've made my decision." Nusama asks Omid at home if he knows about the relationship between Alev and her father. Omid denies it with concern and continues, "They didn't have a relationship. This is definite." Omid goes to see Alev and harshly scolds her, who is crying intensely. Alev says, "I've made a decision. Apu is behind me. I fell in love. I have no regrets." Conversely, after long hours of alternating between sleep and wakefulness, Pembe suffers a nervous breakdown upon remembering Abdullah's words. She throws the room into chaos, tossing out Abdullah's belongings. The children bring themselves to the room and comfort their mother, urging her to calm down. When Doa tries to enter the room, Pembe asks Nilay to close the door. Nilay triumphantly tells Doa, "It's a family matter." Upon Sonmez's request, Kızılcık sees Omar to discuss the unfolding events. She expresses concern about Doa. Omar reassures her, saying that nothing has happened to Doa and that he is mindful of her. When Doa hears Pembe crying, she cannot bear it and goes to her room to check on her. However, Pembe treats her rudely. Doa insists that she is not responsible for Pembe's situation. Pembe shouts, "It's all your fault. Since the day you and your family came, you've ruined our lives." She orders Doa to leave. Fateh, witnessing Doa's distressed state, approaches her, and Doa says, "What have I done to your mother?" When you betrayed me, she said my son made a mistake. Now that something happened to herself, she understands what great pain is. Abdullah has taken residence in a hotel, and Alev is with him. When Alev asks what brought him to her, Abdullah says, I was very young when they told me your spouse is this woman. I accepted it. Let's not pass judgment. I became happy. Kranberry was a good wife to me. But I realized my life is passing by. Alev says, what are you talking about? You can't predict these things. Maybe tomorrow, I will fall, and something will happen to me. Abdullah replies, God forbid. May God shorten my life and give it to you. Omar visits Abdullah and Alev, questioning his brother, are you okay, brother? Why did you do this? Abdullah responds, I fell in love. When you married Kızılcık, did I say anything? Omar says, I wasn't happy. Alev adds, APU wasn't either. Just because someone lives with their family doesn't mean they're happy. Once, someone asked her what she needed and how she was feeling. Omar concludes, I hope Omid and you become happy. You need this wish a lot. The next day, during Kızılcık's program, Nilay suddenly appears on the line, introducing herself and directly addressing Kızılcık, instead of educating people's children. You should teach your sister to stay away from married men. Your sister is having an affair with my stepfather. These are the families you come from. Let everyone know. Ruzgar doesn't allow the program to be cut off and says, let everyone hear the truth. Mary tells her father that she wants to go to university and needs to attend preparatory classes for the entrance exam. Ertuğrul agrees. Unaware that Mary is attending an institution where Metehan is present, Mary is delighted to see Metehan there. That night, everyone scolds Nilay for her actions, except for Kranberry, who thanks her and says, you care more about my children than I do. Thank you. Abdullah proposes to Alev that night with a beautiful ring, and Alev promptly accepts, embracing him. Abdullah mentions that they will have a formal ceremony soon, and Alev insists on a proper wedding ceremony, which Abdullah agrees to. Fateh goes to his mother to offer comfort and assures her that his father will return. He also announces that he and Doa will get married. Kranberry sternly says, I won't allow it. I won't let my lioness become halal for you. This is my final word. I don't want Cemre to grow up with you. Doa, determined, replies, you can't stop it. I won't let Cemre become a prey to her. Marriage is inevitable. Omar sees Kızılcık at her company and hugs her, but then realizes he's daydreaming and rushes back to his office, frightened. He senses something is wrong, and shortly after, Fateh enters his room, informing him about Omar. They quickly take Omar to the hospital. Kızılcık goes to see Alev, criticizing her for the chaos she has brought into everyone's lives. Alev says she has sacrificed everything and will continue on this path. Ertuğrul, in the middle of a meeting, becomes concerned upon seeing Kızılcık's condition. He apologizes to everyone in the conference and rushes to Kızılcık, standing on the edge of a cliff. Ertuğrul goes to her, saying that she is more important than his work. Kızılcık is relieved and happy. Abdullah visits Kranberry and tells her, you are my queen, Kranberry Khanım. I never had any problems with you. Half of what I have belongs to you. You are invaluable to me as long as I live. You never go through any hardship. Kranberry says, did you fall in love? You were happy with her. You did everything everyone else was doing. What's the problem with divorce? Abdullah replies, Alev is not that kind of woman. Kranberry insists, exactly, she is. Even if I die, I won't get a divorce. That woman will always be afraid, and she'll stay. Meanwhile, Yusuf calls Abdullah and informs him that Omar's condition has worsened. Abdullah, with concern, heads towards Yusuf. In the hospital, the doctor informs Omar's family about his condition. They are shocked to learn that Omar is ill and needs immediate surgery. The chances of survival are meager, and they need his consent for the procedure. Abdullah asks Metehan to sign the form. With tears, Metehan signs the paper, and Omar's surgery begins. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next episode.